Hi everybody, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, and this week's contract tip has to do with the RE forms purchase and sale agreement and standard terms for the purchase and sale agreement. So the contract for purchase and sale of residential real property is RE Form 100, contract for the purchase and sale of residential real property. That is a 5-page document. So the actual paperwork, or this actual form, RE 100, is a 5-page document. In the very first paragraph, you put in the offer date, and then you identify the buyer and the seller. And then in bold print, right there, it states, this contract incorporates by reference those certain standard terms for the purchase and sale of Georgia real property published by Orthros Real Estate Enterprises, LLC at www.reformsga.com, and in effect, as of the offer date, the standard terms, which standard terms shall become a part hereof by reference thereto. Each party, by affixing his or her signature hereto, expressly agrees that he or she has read the standard terms and that it is his or her intent that the standard terms shall be incorporated into and are a part of this contract. What that means is when your buyer signs the offer and when your seller accepts the offer and signs it, they agree that they have gone online they've gotten a computer or their smartphone or their tablet, and they've gone online to www.reformsga.com, and they have read this document that is now referred to as the standard terms, and they agree that it is part of the contract, because it's part of the contract once they sign their name to it. Then at the end of on page 5 of the contract for purchase and sale, it has a place right here where it states, there's a place for buyer and seller initials, and it states, by initialing here, the parties acknowledge their receipt of a printed copy of the standard terms. Failure to initial this section shall indicate that the parties have declined a printed copy of and hereby acknowledge the sufficiency of the online copy of the standard terms. And you might think, okay, well, that's all well and good. I don't want any additional pages to my contract, so forth and so on. However, the standard terms is where all of the information is for the buyers and sellers. It's what the buyer agrees to do. It's what the seller agrees to do. It's the time frames for that, and it's the consequences for performance or lack of performance. At Maximum One, it is our policy that if you go binding on the RE forms, you are required to print out the standard terms, which is a 9-page document, and you have now the public has access to it online at that website I read. You as an agent have access to it wherever you access your real estate contracts, whether that be FMLS through RDocs through FMLS or Transaction Desk through Georgia MLS. And this form is RE1, standard terms for the purchase and sale of Georgia real property. Again, at Maximum One, we require that you print this out, reference it as an exhibit, and attach it to the contract. Why is that so important? Well, if you don't do that, again, if you don't reference it, then you absolutely must get your buyer and seller to initial here where it says that they have agreed to that an online copy is sufficient. But nevertheless, you guys, you need to put yourselves in a position to do everything that you can within your power to make sure that your buyer and your seller understand what it is that they are agreeing to when they sign this purchase and sale agreement. For example, so let me give you an example of just why this document is so important. On the purchase and sale agreement, RE 100, under the earnest money, it states that it has who's holding the earnest money, how much, who it's payable to, and what the form is, check, certified funds, wire, so forth and so on. And then it says either the buyer has remitted, so you have it in hand when the buyer's writing the offer, or the buyer has not remitted and the buyer and the seller negotiate when the buyer is to remit the funds to the holder. But then it states, again, I'm on page 1, and it states, in the event said payment is not timely remitted, in other words, the buyer fails to remit the earnest money funds, seller shall be promptly notified by the escrow agent, and the seller shall have the rights and remedies set out in this section. So then you turn the page, and the next item in the actual contract for purchase and sale is closing. So a seller's going to wonder, well, what are my rights and remedies should the buyer fail to remit the funds? Well, guess where all of that information is located? Yes, you got it right. That information is located in the document called Standard Terms. And under that, under paragraph 3.3, it has all of the information regarding buyer's failure to remit earnest money, regardless of whether the payment was remitted prior to acceptance or on or before an agreed upon date thereafter. If the method of presentation of the earnest money is not honored by the institution upon which it was drawn, the escrow agent shall promptly notify the buyer and the seller, and the amount of the agreed upon earnest money shall be paid by certified check or other collected funds to the escrow agent within 3 days of the notice from the escrow agent. If the buyer fails to do so, seller shall have the rights and remedies set out in this contract. Notwithstanding the above, in the event the earnest money is not remitted to the escrow agent as set out in the contract, the earnest money is no longer part of the contract, and the seller may, and the first option is, unilaterally terminate this contract within 7 days of receipt from the notice of the escrow agent, thereby releasing the buyer and seller from any further obligations or responsibilities to the other. Or demand full performance of all other terms and conditions of the contract and proceed to closing. My point is that the seller has, so if there's a default on the contract, if the buyer fails to remit the earnest money, there is a time frame to cure, and then the seller has the rights. One of those options is the right to terminate the contract. If the parties have not gone online to www.reformsga.com, they're going to ask you, the agent, what their rights and remedies are. Again, put yourself as an agent in a position to be able to get all the available information to your buyers and sellers with respect to obligations, consequences, remedies, timeframes, forms of notice, everything that they are agreeing to when they sign a purchase and sale agreement. So there is information after information after information in the standard terms that the buyer and the seller need to know. Yes, when they sign this, they agreed that they've gone online. But you guys, don't put yourself in that position to rely on the buyer and seller to have gone online, and the lenders to have gone online, and the closing attorneys to have gone online to look at that additional document that is part of the purchase and sale agreement. So again, if you are a maximum 1 agent, it is our policy. We require that you print that form out, standard terms, reference it as an exhibit, and attach it to the purchase and sale agreement. If you're not a maximum 1 agent, you are an independent contractor, and I strongly suggest that you do the same, not only for you and to protect your license, but also for customer service for your buyers and sellers when the parties go binding on the RE Forms contract package. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please check out our calendar, our training calendar. I'll put a link below. We teach on these RE Forms contracts. We teach on them individually, and we teach on them as a comparison between the RE Forms contract and the GAR contract package. We will be, just keep looking at our calendar. We will be teaching those definitely next year, if not at least 1 or 2 classes throughout the end of the year. Thank you guys so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum 1 Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.